Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the October 6th, 2022, 9 a.m. regular meeting of the Sunset Beach Town Planning Board. Seeing that we have a quorum, if we could please stand and state the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, we've called the meeting to order, and as a starting point for all of our planning board meetings, I want to read a statement and get the concurrence of each planning board member. Does any member of the planning board have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regard to any item on the agenda? And if so, please state so at this time. Sybil? No. No for me?
Nope.
Nope. Richard?
Nope.
Okay. We have an agenda before us that Chad prepared. Looks like a soft agenda today, which is good. Does anybody want to amend the existing agenda?
I would like to move to amend the agenda to initiate a discussion of the town council basically tabling the text amendment for Article 6 zoning districts. I know this was a citizen petition. I'm not sure if what the declarant or the developer plans in order to basically the town council said this needs to go back to the planning board, needs to be reconsidered, needs to be made more specific.
Instead of getting into it, you're making a motion.
Okay, and I'm making a motion that we open discussion to decide what course we want to take next on this issue.
Okay, to start off with, I'll make a statement that I think that is beyond the purpose of the planning board of Sunset Beach, and that is a town council member. That's a town council item. If you either attended or watched on YouTube the town council meeting, I think it would be very clear as to the facts that were stated and the position taken by the applicant and the town council in agreement to table that issue. So I would vote no to amending the agenda and adding that discussion point.
I would state my impression, and I watched it in its entirety last night. Specifically, it was said this needs to go back to the planning board. Town council member said that. I can't go back and look and see which one it did. My fear is, but I don't want to get into a discussion of the issue, but I think this is very important. I mean, this is going to die on the vine, and it's going to have a serious impact on the quality of life within Sea Trail and the quality of life within Sunset Beach. So,
well, if it does in fact come back to the planning board, which it is not yet, then we can add it to the agenda, and it will be completely discussed and thoroughly dealt with. But as of right now, it is not an agenda item.
That's why I'm suggesting with the amended agenda item to make it an agenda item.
I think it's outside the purview of the planning board.
Well, if a planning board is supposed to plan,
okay.
And I think this is
board members have any comments regarding that?
I make that motion. I petition for a second.
Can Chad explain, or somebody from town explain how it works?
Sure.
What's the process? Give
Sure.
me if town council rejects.
They didn't reject, they tabled.
Okay, that means it's still on their agenda.
Correct.
Table means it's coming up at another meeting. So that's why I want to.
Well, they've had another meeting.
Process.
Let them finish.
Go, sorry.
So if it's tabled, that means it's still on their agenda, right?
Correct.
So they haven't accepted or rejected.
Nothing has been sent back to the planning board yet.
Okay, so it's not here yet.
So the applicant asked for it at on the September 20th meeting. The applicant asked for the text amendment to be tabled to bring back to the town council of a date not certain. So I would then have to. It's at the town council level until the town council sends it down to the planning board and makes a motion on that.
So I guess at that point, I will not make a motion to add it because it's not.
We have a motion on the floor, and we need a second before we can start discussion. Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion is denied. Chad, thank you for that clarification.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're talking about amending or approving the agenda. Mr. Dysinger, I hear your comments clearly, and hopefully they've been addressed. Does any other member of the planning board want to add or amend, change the draft agenda before us? Ron?
Nope.
Sybil? And I do not. So the agenda is approved. Can I have a motion, or can I have a motion to approve the agenda as stands?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Nay.
opposed? Record will state there's 3 affirmative, 1 negative. The agenda as submitted and as before us is approved for processing at this meeting. The third item on our agenda, public comments. And I see the only person here is the applicant for a further item on our agenda, so I will assume there's no public comments. The next item, number 4, is consideration of approval of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes, one for a regular planning board meeting of August 4th, and 2 of them for special UDO meeting minutes of August 18th and September 1st. Have the members of the planning board have a chance to look at the August 4th regular meeting minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are there any changes that would be suggested in the August 4th meeting minutes?
Yeah, I have one, and it's minor. There was a group of people here that reside on Eastwood Park Road, and there was a very, very good discussion about what could be done with some of the flooding issues that they have. But I don't think the minutes reflect the fact that the developer stated that in terms of their legal obligation, they're really only responsible for the first 1.5 inches of rainwater. And they're absolutely, the minutes reflect the fact that, yes, they've done a lot above and beyond what was required in Sea Trail, but it felt like in this instance, really there wasn't going to be any resolution to the concerns of those citizens. And I think that needs to be, I'm not sure exactly how it's added, probably in those last public comments on packet page 5.
And what would you suggest?
That the developer stated clearly that their legal responsibility was only for the first 1.5 inches of storm runoff.
That would not go in public comments.
Where was it stated?
It,
It may be stated in the body of.
under new business, I have
Yeah.
where Todd talked about state stormwater permits,
Right.
Things like that, and stormwater
Yeah, he talked-
management. I can put it there.
That would be great.
If I recall, that might have been where he came up and said, I think the terminology was first flush. Yeah, that they're responsible for first flush. I don't remember if it's 1.5 inches or not.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you,
And then no back and forth, please.
could you repeat that for me?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You know, she wants wording. Give her wording.
Big pardon?
She would like some wording. Language.
Well, I mean, the applicant is here. I mean, he can provide the wording. I mean, I don't want to put words in
I
his
need it
mouth.
from you.
Yeah, you need
Okay, the applicant stated that the responsibility of the developer was only for the first 1.5 inches of stormwater runoff.
Chad, is that appropriate? I don't have any issue with it specifically, but
Yeah, I mean,
that was discussed,
It was
not in
said-
those
it was
words,
discussed,
but it was
yeah.
It was
discussed in
said-
general like
I
that.
can't remember the exact words.
Yeah.
I thought it was first flush.
I would not
I thought
object.
the wording was first flush in my memory. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
I mean, that's a perfectly appropriate term for
I
it.
would
I'm a
not
stormwater
object to
expert.
that. I don't know that first flush needs to go in. People won't understand what that means.
Oh.
1.5 inches of rain, people understand.
Okay.
Yeah, use the first 1.5 inches of rain. That the stormwater permit only covers the first, is
only requires
the first inch and a half of
the
rainfall.
retention of the first inch and a half of rain.
Or
You think that's,
Got
does that satisfy
Yeah,
you?
no, that's fine.
You want to read back what you've added? No? If we're going to approve the minutes, I think you need to read back what you,
want to repeat.
you want to make another try? It's your suggestion.
The developer,
And where are we going to add this? Is it after, under,
Eastwood Bluffs, because that is where.
Right.
Yeah.
right, but you're going to add it after the last sentence, before Chairman, you're not going to do it after Chairman Larkin, because that's a different issue. Oh, you need to,
Oh,
probably the spot to put it is before Rademacher stated that Riptide engineers are working. I think it was during that part of his.
Well, it says right there, Rademacher stated that the reason flooding was due to the amount of water that fell in a
Yes.
short period of time.
It was
That's
in
what
that
should be.
sentence, or in that time he was talking, he said that the legal responsibility was for the first.
Yeah,
It
and
was
that's what I'm saying. That's where that should be added.
right somewhere in that sentence.
yeah,
All
I
right.
think that's a good spot.
let's be clear with Katie what sentence you're referring to. Read the sentence.
Well, it says currently, Rademacher stated that Riptide engineers are working on plans to include additional.
I don't, let me find this.
It's on.
Okay, it's the
packet,
it starts
page
off
3.
that paragraph. Okay?
Right. So it's after member
Where the
LeBruno.
circle is.
Right. Then it says Rademacher stated Riptide engineers are working on plans to include additional Rademacher state reason. It's somewhere in that sentence before Chad's name there should probably go the addition that Rademacher also stated, or whatever you want to use to.
After the word catchments,
Yes.
we need to add something that's, do you see the word catchments, Katie?
Yes.
All right,
but
after the word
If you're going to put Rademacher stated, it needs to be word for word of what he stated. I mean, I can't write something that's legal and binding.
Then
You're
we need to
right.
pull up the tape and look at
if
it
he
and get
didn't
it.
state.
If somebody wants it in there, then there's no way from recollection. We're going to get
All
verbatim.
right, I've got a suggestion, and Richard, see if this satisfies you.
Yep.
The planning board then,
If you don't give me something, I have to take these back, and these have to be pulled off of this agenda. They'll have to be approved in another.
Well, then why don't we do that and we can approve the minutes in 2 weeks?
You can't approve them at a UDO meeting. It has to be at your first.
yeah, it has to be a regular meeting, can't be a
And then we
UDO meeting.
approve it in a month.
It's too complicated, and you brought up a good point. We can't add a quote that isn't a quote. We need to find
Can
it.
we phrase it, the
I want
developer?
Richard to go back and I want to look at the tape myself.
Okay, and we'll get that to you?
Well, still, it has to be in the minutes.
What?
Actually,
That's why we got to go to the tape.
Okay, so we'll go to,
I'll take the responsibility for that, Katie, and along with Richard,
yep,
and we will get something back. But we are going to pull the August 4th approval of minutes from this meeting.
okay.
Does that create any governmental issues?
So we're going to table these minutes.
Yes.
So you'll need to make a motion to table these minutes. We'll put them. You can make your change at the next regular meeting, and then we can approve them as amended at the next meeting.
As the chair, I'll make a motion that we will table the approval of the August 4th regular meeting minutes
I second.
and bring them back at the next regularly scheduled planning board meeting. Can I have a second? Second from
I will say this.
discussion.
I'll say this. Katie goes back and watches the YouTube videos verbatim. I mean, and quotes everything in there verbatim.
I know she does.
Okay, just wanted to
I
make
know
that
she does.
clear.
But this is an issue that one of our planning board members has brought up,
Okay.
and I'm not in a position to vote yes or no because I'm not comfortable with that. I know that Katie does an excellent job in the minutes. We had a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know what I'm eyeing for, but okay.
Okay. Well, Katie's
Y'all
right.
have totally confused
We're
me.
withdrawing something from the agenda, so it has to be done by motion.
Okay.
So it's we're tabling something from the agenda. All right, we're now going to proceed to the review and hopefully approval, less painfully, of the August 18th special meeting of the Planning Board.
I still move.
I've reviewed them and I have no suggestions for alterations. Can I have a motion that we approve the
I
minutes?
move that we approve the minutes from the August 18th special meeting.
Can we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the last set of minutes for review today is again, a special meeting of September 1st, 2022. I've reviewed these minutes previously, and I have no suggestions for amending. Any other planning board members have comment or suggestions for approval or review?
I so move.
Okay.
I second.
Motion that we accept has been seconded. The September 1st minutes are approved as submitted. So I'll sign them after the meeting. Okay. All right, now we're moving into new business, number 5 item, which is the Eastwood Bluffs Phase 3, Buildings 18 and 19 Final Plat Approval. And I will note for the planning board records that Chad has already clarified the fact that on the opening page of that review report, it refers to Phase 2 of Eastwood Bluffs Townhomes, Building 18 and 19, and it really is Phase 3. And Phase 3 is properly reflected in all other documents within this submittal. Chad, do you want to start the discussion on this, please?
Yeah.
And we can talk with the applicant.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, clearly I put in the body that this is phase 3 of a final plat for Eastwood Bluffs. This is for buildings 18 and 19. Riptide Builders has submitted a final plat for phase 3, not 2, of a subdivision for Eastwood Bluffs Townhomes, building 18 and 19. Staff has reviewed and approved the final plat to be reviewed by the planning board for final approval. Attached to staff's comments and review of the final plat prior to issuing a zoning permit. The final plat must be approved by the planning board in accordance with Article 13, Section 13.02. And if there's any questions, and the applicant is here if you have any direct questions to him as well.
May the applicant come up and introduce themselves, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
Todd Rademacher, Riptide Builders, 279 Clubhouse Road, Sunset Beach, North Carolina.
Good morning, Todd.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Todd.
Todd, I have one question for you, and it's really, I think this is straightforward. I saw no issues with it. There's things I'd like to be better, but
Sure.
it follows our ordinances. In the minutes that we just discussed, that we have now not approved, there was a statement that you did make. It said Rademacher stated that Riptide engineers are working on plans to include additional stormwater catchments. And of course, that was dealing with phase 2, not phase 3 that is before us today, but they commingle
Sure.
with access and egress and stormwater. I was happy to see in driving by the area that you have in fact added 2 lateral strip drains
Mhm.
at both the in and out entrances, the south entrance, I'll call it. Is that the south entrance?
Sure.
Okay.
The original entrance to Eastwood Bluff. That's
Yeah,
what I
okay,
usually-
all right. And I see that, now I'm curious as to how you, can I ask this question? I want to see how they operated during our storm. What
What is it?
Todd thinks. It's not really pertinent to
Well,
this, but it is pertinent to the stormwater, which 18 and 19
Sure.
buildings are a part of.
sure. So just a little recap on what we did in that area, because we had some citizens that had come here and we'd already been working on, or when I say here, had come to the previous planning board meeting and voiced some concerns. We did and were in the process of analyzing that driveway, which was built to the state stormwater permit. We went back and we looked at it. We reviewed from talking to the neighbors and what have you in that area, and determined that the installation of an additional catch basin drain boxes at the ingress egress point there on Eastwood Park Road would be appropriate. So what we did is we had some custom made grates created and dug a trench about 3 feet deep by about a foot wide. And those are tied into the existing catch basins that were on either side of that driveway. Bartley Excavating did the installation and digging of that all up. The water now, when it rains, I can speak to this previous storm. We didn't have any specific complaints from any of the neighbors of overflow going onto the street. It appears, knock on wood, that it is functioning the way we had anticipated. And obviously, when you add that much drain, you will see an increased improvement to the previously, overrun drain boxes. And that gets back into the rains we had back in July were just excessive in nature.
Well, and thank you for that, because I really wanted you to it come out of your mouth, even though I had seen it, because planning board member Mr. Dysinger had brought up the point that people had taken the time to come here and comment.
Sure.
And what have we done to help them?
It is done.
And that's, I wanted you to explain that to him.
No, we're
And
happy
all
that
of
it
us.
worked. It looks good too. We did a couple upgrades to it, so it blended in nicely to the residential community in that area. So
Yeah, and that's great news. To some extent, I want to apologize. I voted nay on the last plat amendment, primarily out of some frustration that it didn't feel like we were going to address this concern. So I'm pleased that it was addressed, and I look forward to voting for this renewed plat.
Does anybody have any specific questions for the applicant on this phase 3, buildings 18 and 19 submittal package?
I'd just comment, I mean, this is a development that's been sitting on the table within Sea Trail for a very long time.
yes,
It's the right location, it's the right inventory, it'll be a welcome addition to Sunset Beach and to Sea Trail. I know there are times when I get on the nerves of Riptide with some of my skepticism, but this is, I think, going to be a great addition to Sea Trail, and I'm pleased that we've attempted to effect an appropriate outcome for those people that were here the last time.
Ron, any comments on the package?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No.
Sybil? I do not have any suggestions. Chad, unless you think we're missing something here, or you found something since your prior approval,
don't.
or prior submittal to us on the agenda.
No, sir, I do not.
And the typo doesn't we don't have to go back.
No,
Okay,
no.
good.
It was
All right.
one of those things where clearly y'all can see my path of how I do things. I use the same template for about everything else, and I made a point to change the 2 to a 3 and everything but the heading. So
Well, am I correct in assuming that we really don't have the right to reject this anyway? So it's, by that I mean, in our new,
But we could grill them for another couple hours.
I
in our new
have. I have
I
time.
think we've
I have
done
time.
that.
Yeah.
Eventually, these are not going to be coming before us.
Under the
potentially,
Yeah, potentially. Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the new business item number, under 5, new business, the Eastwood Bluffs Phase 3, Building 18 and 19, final plat approval.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you all very
Good
much.
job on the submittal. Last item, or second to last item, public comments, 3 minutes only on any topics. And seeing none?
I have a question.
Question?
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Or
of Chad?
I think we can have discussion, can't we?
yeah, because I want to make a statement of coming, not a statement, but give you kind of a heads up of what's coming up in November.
Okay.
I guess we don't
Ron,
have.
Ron,
I just know, and maybe you talked about it when I was here last time, but Thursday, August 18th, there's quite a lengthy article
September.
in the Beacon concerning Brunswick County's stormwater management manual update. Okay. My first question is, which I guess I got the answer now, our Brunswick County Board of Commissioners have told the Brunswick County stormwater engineer, Bridget Flora, to update their stormwater manual. Because it hasn't been updated. Manual. It hasn't been updated since, I think the years here I wrote down, or here someplace. But anyways, it's really like written 20 years ago, updated once. So my first question is, which I kind of answered by your face, whether we're participating or talking, because they're looking to go from basically the 10-year storm to either the 50 or 100-year flood. for stormwater regulation. Okay, so based on look of your face, you are not, whether anybody else in the town is participating or involved in this, the answer I see right now, it looks like no. And whether we should be, because there seems to be two things going on. There's, obviously the Board of Commissioners have to vote on this. Similar to what we do, the way I read the article at least, is the engineering department there comes up with a new manual and they vote on it, okay? And they're pushing for the 50 or 100-year flood being used as the
Standard.
which sounds like different than
An inch and a half of rain.
different than it is now. Well, you can do a public comment if you want. Okay. And there's also something here about using to match the NOAA Atlas 14 maps, which is currently not true in the manual. So I guess my question is are we involved? Should we be involved? I think we should be with the county on this, because certainly this would be a major change. And then maybe I can re-ask this in 2 weeks on a UDA. And our stormwater UDO regulations, do we just state that we just follow the county manual?
So we have our own standards. That would be it'd be like the county's updating their UDO stormwater management plan for their entity. I don't think we would participate, and it's not saying that. So we would need to look at, if that's something that we want to take a look at, that would be a question for Wes and the UDO update, because we have our own flood and stormwater ordinances in our UDO.
But don't developers have to get their permit from the county? So I think we need to look at this to see, one, do we want to just match?
Okay.
Or
I can email Bridget and ask her and kind of prepare an update for y'all as soon as I can.
I mean, if you're doing unless I misunderstand the whole thing, and I've read this a couple of times. If someone's doing a development, they got to go to the county to get they're going to be under these, if these are changed and adopted under these regulations, which essentially means they'll make a difference if we got anything less.
What we don't know is we don't know what is going to now be adopted, because there's just and I've
Right.
read the article and I find it very confusing.
A little bit, because it's obviously a newspaper, but clearly they voted to tell their engineering department to update the manual. Now,
Yes.
whether they update it to the same as it is, and clearly there was some comment here that a number of commissioners said we want it higher than the 10-year than it is now. Some said 50 or 100-year, which is a
And
big
this
difference.
Can you prepare an update for us at the
Or
next?
who's our stormwater?
for the
We have a
20th?
stormwater person, don't we?
Well,
It's an
yes, we
ad.
do. Matt Sorrells.
Maybe he can do the research and report. Give us if it's appropriate to give us a report, or
I will put this
I
on
think
the,
he needs
I'll put this
Chad's
on the November
intersection in
agenda to kind of give you an update.
or otherwise, like you say, maybe with West, that
Yeah.
if we should incorporate this either to or fro in the UDO, saying we adopt their manual and just follow it,
I will.
or
But we need
decide
to know
do
what it is
something
first.
different, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll prepare something and provide that for y'all as soon as I can.
It just seemed like flooding.
It's
Obviously, we had a discussion today regarding flooding.
Yes.
That's
It's
not
a
gonna-
big issue.
it's an issue that the county is, and other counties around the area and the surrounding area are taking a look at. When we did this, when I was in Pender County, it was met with strong resistance.
From developers,
Yes,
but not from residents.
correct.
All right, so,
So,
we ought to go
and
find
it
developers.
essentially killed a whole UDO rewrite in Pender County.
We
for
do
us.
not need this for the October 20th meeting, because we're still in the zoning section.
Correct.
But when we come to the
But when we
stormwater,
come to the stormwater and impervious footprint and that kind of discussion,
Yes.
I'd like to see your slant and Wes's slant
Yes,
on
Yeah.
this rewrite.
absolutely.
Because my question would be, I mean, if we're an incorporated town, a 10-year or a 50-year or a 20-year flood in our little area might be very different than
Well,
Brunswick Forest.
but that's what that NOAA Atlas 14 maps are.
Okay.
The ones we're currently using are like from 2010, and there's apparently new ones out now that determine the rainfall in the different areas.
Right.
Because if you're designing for the 25-year, 24-hour storm, you got to know what it is and where
Right.
the location is. And
But
the
I-
maps that they're currently using in the manual are not the most recent.
All right, let Chad
Yeah.
and Wes put a good point, and it's something that would be very,
We may have a public comment.
very important when we come to, well, we already closed out public comments,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we did.
I'll prepare something
Mhm.
and get that to you and update y'all on this.
Can I make a motion that we reopen public comments so Todd can give us his opinion on this?
It's up to the planning board. Was there a second?
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we now have reopened up public comments. 3 minutes.
Super quick. I would just say that your UDO already requires us to get a county stormwater permit. So if they change their whatever regulations with stormwater that they change, we would have to apply for that. In fact, with the Gulls Landing project and the Gulls Landing, we're still waiting for the state, but for the Sawmill Townhomes, we just last week submitted our application for county stormwater once we got our state stormwater permit. So we are having to, whatever they change their regulations to, we would, the way your ordinance is currently written, we would be beholden to those regulations.
Well,
Just
but the
FYI.
point, and no deliberations, so you can, thank you. But the point Ron brought up is important, and Chad will give us Chad and Wes will give us
So,
an overview.
But it sounds like there is a mechanism in place right now that may have to be amended, but at least there's something in place.
But it still isn't going to change the fact that developers get their permits from the state and the county, not
Yep.
from us.
Yep,
So
no, you're right.
it's, but there may be other ways we can influence and protect our citizens. You said you had a statement, Chad.
Yeah, so just to prepare you, we have a UDO meeting coming up on
20th.
the 20th. I expect your agenda packets to go out on the 17th. I will be out on vacation the 10th through the 14th, so it won't be on the Friday. I'll get it out that's the 17th. You already have your updated materials. The November 3rd planning board meeting will consist of potentially a Riptide subdivision for preliminary plat, potentially H&H homes of the villas at Seaside Phase 2, and Jaguar's Lair preliminary plat. So
Yeah.
just to give y'all a heads up on that, I will get,
Jaguar, is that the one that was tabled before?
yeah, it was never tabled. It's just never been brought
It
to
was
It
you.
was
pulled.
never. It was
So,
pulled.
just kind of give you an update. I will be pulling together and getting you that packet information so you can start reviewing it now. It is over 1,000 homes. It's a preliminary plat that big. So just to give you a heads up on that, that's what's coming before you.
But that still isn't locked. It may or may not happen.
It's probably going to happen.
Okay.
So
Good.
So yeah.
Good.
And that's all I have.
All right, that's a good heads up for us for the next regular meeting on the 3rd of November. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the planning board regular meeting.
I so move.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting now adjourned. Next meeting.